Hey, Dan here, back with my friend Matt, who's been visiting me for the last couple weeks here in Prague from Vancouver. In the last video, we talked about all the benefits of starting a meetup group and whether or not it's right for you. And in this video, we're going to go through some tips on basically how to make it work and maybe cover a bit of how it actually starts, like how to get started with it.
Yep.
I mentioned in the last video that I have clients using this strategy now, not really strategy, but just starting a meetup, where it's a great way to get out, connect with people while building your business. And if you're an extrovert, you like to be with people, it's definitely a great strategy to actually spend time with other people rather than, always be working from home or that sort of thing. As I mentioned in the other video, Matt is the founder of the largest internet marketing meetup in the world. There's over 10,000 members. And originally I thought to actually record this tips and how-to video just for my paid clients, but then I thought that would kind of be dumb. Why not share it with you as well, my YouTube community here? So, we're gonna have some pretty good quality advice from probably one of the world's, if not the world's, leading expert in making a successful meetup group for your business.
Well, I do joke about being the world's #1 expert. I actually probably am, and it's because I've actually looked for world's #1 expert on Meetup.
Because you wanted to hire someone else, learn it.
There's not really a lot.
Be the one.
There's not really a lot of people out there. I've even written to Meetup itself and gave them advice and thanked me so much and told me they wanted to speak more with me. So it's probably up there, definitely top five.
Yeah. So maybe let's start with how you got started. I remember being at some of the earlier events, and it was almost more like a community learning kind of.
So when we first started the meetups, it was we used to watch internet marketing training videos together, and it actually started with a Craigslist ad. It wasn't even a meetup group originally. It was an ad on Craigslist that said, "We are going to meet at Monday at 7 o'clock to learn about internet marketing. If you'd like to come, show up." And then one of my friends saw the ad and was like, "Man, we should go to this thing." And I remember I did not want to go out, but there was I was studying a lot of motivational personal development stuff at the time, and there was this whole there was a saying, it was people get ahead during the times that others waste. So I was either they're gonna stay at home and play video games or go and meet people on a Monday night at this Craigslist internet marketing thing. So
you went?
Craigslist for the win. Yeah. So I went.
And also, I will add that going to a Craigslist ad that says, "Why don't we get together and study internet marketing?" is about the same as "meet me at my van, don't wear pants" for risk.
It's definitely usually not a good idea. Let's just say that.
In this case, though, it worked out.
If it's on Meetup, if you start with meetup.com and not Craigslist, you're probably going to be better suited. I'm going to share 5 of my best tips for growing your meetup. The first one is frequency. So what I've learned after nearly a decade of meetup groups is that the more meetups that you do, the better. Every meetup that you host is also going to attract more members to your group. I got to the point now that if someone is putting together their own meetup that's within our category, within our niche of internet marketing, I will allow them to publish their meetups on our meetup just to have more meetups on our calendar. However, I will restrain from heavily promoting their meetup to my members. I'll only promote by emailing my own members to our primary events that I'm organizing. However, I will just publish their events. I will allow them to publish events as long as I know them, they're cool, and I know it's going to be a good event. So the reality is, the more meetups that you put on your calendar, the better. Just like, a YouTube channel, right?
Yeah.
The more videos you put on your YouTube channel, the better, as long as they're good quality. You're not just putting out crap, right?
So to explain that now, just to make sure I even understood it, now you have your meetup and you have essentially your official events.
Yes.
But if you have, let's say I'm in Vancouver in July, for an event, you should check it out if you want to come, guys.
Yeah.
Let's say I'm there and I want to do a meetup, kind of my own thing.
Yeah.
You'll put it under your meetup brand as long as it's aligned with what you.
Not really, no. So if you're doing a one-off event, and
I don't mean my paid event, but I mean if while I was in the city, I was like, oh, I'd like to host an event for freelancers or internet marketing related.
So for you, because I know you, the answer would be yes. But typically what I'm talking about is someone who says, hey, I want to host an event every week or
Okay,
once a
okay.
month, you know, that sort of thing. It's kind of like on YouTube, right? Where someone's like, hey, I want to do a show and I don't have my own YouTube channel.
Yeah.
I'll give you the content for your
You
channel.
can do it under Vox or Vice or whoever.
Yeah, that sort of thing. So I'm looking, like if someone, and this has happened, people are like, hey, we're doing this weekly lunch, right? They charge for it and everything, but it puts more events on our calendar, and I know them, they're cool, they've been supporting my business for years, and you know, vice versa. So I'm like, cool, yeah, anytime you have an event, I'll make you an organizer, and you could throw your events on there.
Okay.
But if someone comes to the city and I don't know, they're like, hey, could you promote my event? It's like, it's a hell no, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So back to my point here on frequency. You need to decide on the frequency of your events. If you can do it, I highly recommend a weekly event. Again, this relates back to YouTube. I keep bringing this up now because we're on YouTube. But you know, if you have a YouTube channel, you're best off to be publishing your videos on a schedule. So for example, every Monday at noon or whatever the time is, right?
Sundays, Tuesday, and Thursday.
At what time do you
6
upload?
a.m. Eastern time.
There you go, right? So there's this ongoing schedule. So ours were every Monday at 7.
And I remember that, like before you jumped in there, it's in my head. I haven't lived in Vancouver for 7 years, and I remembered Monday, 7 o'clock. I could tell you, not the address, but I could walk to where it was. So that consistency is really important. And my audience, if you guys are curious, if you're personality type viewers from my audience, Matt is an ENTP. For those of you like myself who maybe struggle with consistency sometimes, if you're going to do frequency and you aren't sure how often, maybe do every 2 weeks when you know for sure you can do that. Like it's better to do every 2 weeks and be consistent. Don't cancel every second time. Then try to do like twice a week, every week, and then after 2 weeks you burn yourself out. Or whatever.
I've never canceled a meetup. So when we're every Monday at 7, we're in Canada and there's a holiday that falls on Mondays very frequently. So you end up with 3 events per month because we do every Monday unless there's a holiday. So that works. Right now, I'm at the stage where I got a lot more stuff going on in my business, so we went to once a month. So now we're the last Monday of every month at 7 o'clock, and we do a bigger event. Before there
How many people tend to come out now?
So before we were like 50 to 80 every Monday night. Now we're at 150 to 200 once a month. So we're doing one really big event with one really big speaker. That being said, we've been doing that now for a few months, and I'm actually, when I go back to Vancouver, I'm scouting new locations for our other Mondays where I want to go back to the weekly frequency. A big part of it as well is that if somebody can't make it 1 month, you don't see them again for like 2 months. If they can't make it for the next 2 events, you don't see them for 3 months, and so on. When it's every Monday night, you get this frequency of the same people kind of coming at least once a month. Everybody just knows Monday, 7 o'clock, it's like locked down. Often, a third of the audience was like regular, like they would be there at least once a month, if not every single Monday. A third would come like once in a while, and a third would be brand new people that you would meet for the very first time. That was like pretty consistent in that kind of a way. So if you could make it happen every week, and just because we're doing Mondays at 7, that doesn't mean that it's the best for you. It's like whatever time works for you is fine. It's like, don't overthink it, just whatever you can do. There's no one time or one day that's gonna work for everybody. I used to think that weekends would be a horrible time to do an event. Now I see people doing meetups on the weekends and they're full. So it's whatever you can do. People will arrange their schedules around what accommodates you. So number 2 is location. I never realized how important location was until I got a bad location. So we were at a location in the west side of Vancouver, kind of close to downtown, for a very long time, for like 5 years or something like that. Every Monday night, 7 o'clock, and it was very consistent the amount of people we were getting coming out. Then we moved to the east side of Vancouver, okay, we're in Burnaby, and our numbers went down to like 20 to 30 people. And even the kind of people that came out, not like there was anything wrong with them, but I noticed that we weren't getting a lot of the big business entrepreneurs that were coming out when we moved to, a different part of town. Then I thought, one, we changed our frequency, we lowered our frequency, and I was like, maybe that's affecting it. And then I thought maybe it's the location. I was unsure, and the location was it was a co-working space, first of all. It's a co-working space, but it was a very white, canteen kind of looking space. it didn't have that like kind of like luxurious kind of feel, or not luxury, but more of like
success, or just like
yeah,
ambitious or something.
Yeah, there was something about it that I felt like it didn't really have that feel. I always felt that, right? So then we moved downtown to a place that had a stage where we could have a speaker, and then boom, we had 150 people at the event, and it was just like, it sold out fast. And it was our most profitable event that we'd ever done. We had a VIP section and like all this kind of crazy stuff. So the location makes a huge difference. On another point, I've done workshops as well where I teach social media, I teach marketing. And at one of my events, I rented Science World. So Science World, if you ever look at a picture of Vancouver, it's the big globe. It's from Expo 84 or 80 something. So I rented the IMAX theater to do my presentation. It turned out to be very cost effective to rent this place. And I packed that place. The capacity was 230. I think I sold 280 tickets knowing that some people wouldn't show up. And it was just like, I couldn't believe how fast it sold out. I think it was like 2.5 weeks. I sold nearly 300 tickets, which is like my biggest workshop at the time. And so location makes a huge difference. So invest in your location, whether you do it at a nice hotel, a co-working space, a boardroom if you're first starting out, it's small, but invest in a nice location. Don't do it at a crappy coffee shop just because it's free. You want to have a controlled environment. It's going to be quiet, no crazy distractions. And if you can, a stage. If you're going to have a speaker, if you can get a stage and you film it, it's going to look great on camera. I would highly recommend that. But when you're first starting out, just do the best you can to like really think about logistics of how people are going to get there. Is parking easy? Is there transit nearby? And when they walk into the space, what is the vibe of the space? And if the space is a popular space, or it's famous, or like everyone just kind of knows, like when I say Science World in Vancouver, you don't need a map, everyone just knows where it is. Like if you get a space like that, that's key.
One thing I'll jump in with, because you mentioned a lot, you mentioned videotaping events, which now you videotape all your speakers, and there's a lot to that. If you're just getting started, because I know what you might be thinking, don't overthink all this. Like, don't start with I need to videotape every event. Don't start really worrying about it.
Not at all.
I know someone who started a meetup recently in the UK, and they're doing it at like a pub. And it's more just networking and connecting, and then that will grow into
There's a lot of meetups that do the pub thing because they're about drinking and it's a social thing. There's no speaker. That's fine. So yeah, I wanna preface that.
But if you're doing a speaker, being in a cafe or pub will drive the speaker nuts. So
yeah, like you might be doing, like I'm talking about more of a business thing, but maybe you've got like a dad meetup and you're just gonna meet up at the park, or you're going ice skating or rock climbing or something like that. That's fine. So just like put some thought into it and don't underestimate the power of location. That's all I'm trying to stress here.
I would guess, I'm not the expert at all with this, but when you put effort in the location too, it probably changes people's perception. Like when you're starting out, if they're like, this person's put in a lot of effort, they're maybe more likely to support you or recommend friends or something like that.
Absolutely. I mean, the fact that you can usually get a location for a pretty decent cost, even if you're paying out of pocket, you could charge, and we'll talk about that in a moment, but even if you're paying out of pocket, like the amount of leverage that it gives you, you know, as a personal brand, or like, you know, making yourself seem more valuable. I don't know what it is. There's definitely something there.
There's also probably, if you want to be creative with it, ways to get free space. It could be like go to a co-working space and ask, can I use it Tuesday night when you're closed? I know there's a co-working space here in Prague that more than likely would let people use it because it gets exposure for the space. People go there for the event, and if you have an entrepreneur event, they go in the space, they're like, wow, this space is really nice. Maybe if you're doing a language learning meetup, there's a language school that would let you use one of their boardrooms because your members might
100%.
want to sign up for their thing after.
Actually, absolutely. I mean, going back to like ideas for finding spaces, we've been in co-working spaces for years. We only recently moved. We're now looking for new spaces. I actually rented a theater now, is where we're at right now. But now we're looking at tech startups that want to have our community there. So they'll give us their office space for free, and it's a really nice space. But let's just say, going back to like the dad's meetup example, you might be able to go to a space that's like very like family oriented place.
A daycare place or something.
Maybe a daycare, or like, you know, I think like, yeah, I mean, something that like men would, I don't know, like I was thinking like rock climbing gym. They'd be like, sure, you can host your meetup here and then everyone can go rock climbing afterwards or something like that, right? So yeah, you could definitely find free spaces if you get creative. But if you default to like a nice hotel and you spend a couple $100 on it, if you're in the business space, it's definitely worth it.
So next up is about formatting, like the types of events you can do. We mentioned bar events, speaker events. These are like, what are the options for people starting?
Yeah, so I mean, the options are endless. You could do activities. Activities are some of the biggest meetup groups on Meetup. There's like, I think the biggest group on Meetup is like a hiking group. And the other one is actually, this is interesting, it's like called, in Vancouver, this is the biggest one, it's called Very Shy Looking to Meet Friends. Like that's what the group's called. So on Meetup, you get a lot of introvert people who are like trying to make friends and trying to like kind of put themselves out there, all right? So yeah, there could be activities, I've done that. There could be workshops, fireside chats, straight up networking.
Now I'm not the Meetup master, but I definitely think like being creative. One of the things I have not announced yet, and I won't get into details, but you guys might know I do these intensive like 4 or 5 day events. And I've been thinking about doing an event where basically I'll go to a city and we can go out for dinner and drink together and talk about your business, talk about life, and make it really casual, which is not something most kind of business coaches do, but it's something I love doing, like just casually meeting people. You could do a hike and chat about learning languages, a business network, you know.
So the key is, and this is a rule I've had for years, is that you want to produce the type of events that you'd want to go to, regardless of the fact that you're organizing it.
That explains my come out for dinner, drink, and talk about business events.
Yeah, and the fact that you are like excited about doing it and doing that, that's the kind of event that you should do. If you're somebody who loves hiking, but you don't know anybody who likes hiking, you need a hiking group, right? And if you're in business, you need a hiking group for entrepreneurs, right?
It's actually like, we almost say it joking, but it's a really good idea. Because I think I went to, when I first moved to Prague, I didn't know as many people. And I went to this meetup that was just like, do things with people. And the day it was a hike. And I met some interesting people, but I do tend to like more to talk about like psychology and business and these different things. Yeah. If there was an event where we were going hiking or playing sports or just doing like going for a run and talking about a topic I'm really interested in, that'd be amazing.
That's it.
If anyone in Prague can start that, I will be your first member. That's perfect.
So number 4 is Mastermind. So what that means, what it means to me anyways, is that you want to get everybody who attends your event to be able to introduce themselves to everybody else in the group. So we do something called a speed mastermind, where everybody gets 30 seconds to say who they are, what they do, how they can help members, and how members can help them. And everyone just goes around the room, and I have a timer on my phone that dings as soon as the 30 seconds is up, so it's like really quick, go around the entire room, and that allows everybody in the room to kind of know everybody else in the room, and you as the organizer, you just met everybody in the room in this little exercise. So even if you have like 100 people at your event, right, it just takes about half an hour or so. Some people don't even take 30 seconds, they take 10 or 20 seconds. I have a rule where everybody has to stand up and speak, and then I even ask at the start, I say, who has a fear of public speaking? And then someone's like me, and like, you go first. So
note, if you come to one of Matt's events and you have a fear of public speaking.
Yeah, so it just breaks the ice, everybody laughs. I like to do some dry humor as people mention things, or if someone's speaking and makes fun of themselves, I'll call them out on it, and just kind of like make it so everyone's comfortable to speak. So I call that a mastermind. We're Internet Mastermind, so we call it a speed mastermind. You can call it whatever you want. We used to just call it introductions, so everyone just introduces themselves. So you definitely want to have a time within your event where everybody gets a chance to introduce themselves and kind of what they do or whatever is in context. Like if you have a hiking group, it's like, why don't you say your name and how many times you've gone hiking or something like that.
Now this isn't the video on benefits of starting a meetup group, but I thought I'd add something that we didn't discuss in that video, which is probably becoming good in front of people or at speaking. I was just thinking when you brought up fear of public speaking I don't remember exactly, but I'm guessing you're extremely comfortable in front of crowds now. If you're having 200 people at your mastermind, I'm guessing when you started, you didn't.
It's a funny story there. I was going to Toastmasters and I wanted to become a speaker. And at Toastmasters, someone said, if you want to get good at speaking, you just got to get on stage. Like basically he was saying like Toastmasters is a waste of time. If you want to get good at speaking, you got to go on stage. So then I responded to this Craigslist ad and ended up at a meetup or whatever. And one day we had no video to watch. And then I was like, oh, I have this video. And it was like a Gary Vaynerchuk video. And like, I saw this video online. So I played it for everybody. And he was talking about, this is like 2009. He was talking about the power of Twitter, whatever. And everyone, after the video, everyone's like, Matt, teach us more about Twitter. And I was like, okay, sure. I'm like, I knew a lot about Twitter, right? And it's actually how I started my whole social media training business, as a matter of fact. Like there was a lot of side benefits here. So at the time I was so scared of public speaking, it was actually, I was working with Quentin, our mutual friend, and Quentin said, hey, let's do the presentation together, because I was too scared to do it myself. So we put together the slides together, and he's like, if you get stuck or stutter or whatever, he's like, I'll just take over. I'm like, okay, cool. So we started doing the presentation, he talked, and I just kind of spoke to the group. That was my very first public speaking thing. And now I am a public speaker by profession. That's what I do. I host these workshops with hundreds of people. I've spoken to thousands of people, so it all started from this group. So yeah, if you want to get good at public speaking, it's something you're trying to work on. When we first started, I was talking to like 15 or 20 people, and now it doesn't matter how many people are in the audience. I can just get on stage. I know kind of what to do now.
So you mentioned earlier about charging. Brings us to the fifth tip about charging. Should you charge if you're starting out? I'm guessing people are wondering, if you're starting out, do you charge right away? How much do you charge? I don't know if we want to get that much into the weeds, but even like, how do you collect the money? I think it's just cash from my memory, but.
Okay, so yeah, tip number 5 is going to be on charging, pricing, right? So when we first started our group, it was just free. And I recommend, now that we're creating chapters and kind of expanding, when we first created our first chapter, we did an event, we charged for it, and one person showed up and paid. And they were like, this is amazing, what's gonna happen? And we're like, just me and you. So that was in Mexico. So our next event was free and like 30 people showed up. So what I realized, like when we first started our group, it was just free. So people have to kind of get what it's about.
One thing with hosting events is you have totally different price points depending on where people find you. There are business training events that I paid $3,000-$4,000 for a couple days for. You've probably paid more for some.
Yeah.
There's events that are totally free, and there's everything in between. People have different expectations. On Meetup, it's generally like if you had a $500 event, people are like, what the heck are you doing,
That's
right?
weird.
This is Meetup. That's weird. But I have heard, I think it was you actually who told me, like even the difference between charging, say, $0 and $10, you get different people. You maybe filter out people who are not as serious, or maybe like if you do want to have a networking element to your event and the event is about business, you probably want people who are a little more serious. So charging $10, $20 is going to lead to more serious people, smaller group, but maybe higher quality from the networking perspective.
Not necessarily smaller group. So when we first started, we originally were borrowing a projector to project the video we were playing or whatever. And then the guy whose projector was like, I need my projector back and I'm moving to Winnipeg. And we're like, okay, like now we need a projector. And it was like $500 and we're like, I don't have any money. What do we do? So then one of the guys was like, why don't we just charge everybody $5 at the door and then like, just go and like buy it and we'll pay you back. I'm like, sure. So I went over, I bought like a $400 or $500 projector, started charging $5 at the door for a couple events. We're doing it every week. By the end of the month, we had the money back. And then another thing happened with like chairs. We had to buy chairs from IKEA. And so we're like, well, we better keep charging in case we need more stuff, right? So eventually what happened was we're just charging at the door, cash at the door. So what happens is when people RSVP on Meetup, if it's a free event, only about half of the people will actually show up. So once we started charging people online, and we would say it was...
So they pay online on the website first.
Yeah, so we made it, and by the way, I would recommend you could either just use Meetup's integration with PayPal or whatever to charge, but we now use something like Eventbrite. So we say it's $10 online or $20 at the door. And it creates scarcity, and that way, every time you promote your event, you're sending it on an email, you're encouraging people to take action and register and commit to be there. Vancouver is a very last minute city, so it was so hard to get people's commitment, and like all of our ticket sales come in the last few days up to the event. So I highly recommend charging, even if you were gonna say $5 online, $10 at the door, you're gonna have more people come out, you'll have a better idea who's coming. So I'm gonna ballpark this for you, but you should start a meetup group, and then once you've been doing, let's just say you've been doing like between 10 to 20 meetups, events, maybe you have about 500 members on Meetup, then you should start charging. And you might wanna start with the $5 online, 10 at the door, the $10 online, 20 at the door. It's kind of a good starting point. But you do wanna start charging as soon as possible because you'll get a higher caliber of people, a better idea of kind of who's showing up. You'll be able to subsidize your costs to just put on a better event. Sometimes what we do is, I used to do this once a month where I would just take the door fund, and at the end of the event, I would take everyone to the bar and buy them all drinks. And that was amazing because everybody just thought I was the coolest guy. Matt's a baller buying everybody drinks, but I just took their money and gave it back to them with beer. So like, it's doing a meetup and hosting your meetup is not about making money, it's about building community. You will profit in it or get value out of it in so many more ways than just trying to make money on ticket sales. It's not a business where you're really gonna make a lot of money on ticket sales. So don't focus on that. Focus on get charged so that way you know who's coming, people are committing, you're growing your email list, you're getting a high caliber person coming, and just do a great job of putting on the best event possible with the budget that you now have.
So those were the 5 tips Matt wanted to share. I wanted to ask you one more, just any tips, anything quick that comes to mind. I think we're actually running out of space on the SD card, but any tips that come to mind in terms of getting people out to the event, like marketing, setup, anything like that?
Yeah, so I mean, you should start by inviting your friends and all the cool people that you know. Use Facebook events. I actually go onto Google, for example, and I'll type in events in Vancouver, and I look at every event listing site or publication there is, and I create accounts everywhere. Every time we have an event, we get a graphic made and we publish it everywhere you could publish an event. Then we also publish on Facebook. We invite people through Facebook. But by using Meetup and using the categories feature when you're creating your Meetup, Meetup will actually find members for you. So if you fill in all the categories, people who join Meetup as a user, they also choose categories they're interested in. So what Meetup will do is say, well, you said that your Meetup is about entrepreneurship and graphic design. And when someone else signed up, they said, I'm into those topics or whatever. Then they'll email them and say, hey, there's a new Meetup in your city you might be interested in, and they'll probably come out. So when you first start your first Meetup group, you wanna fill in all the information right away and publish your first event right away. And that will help get people to you. So that's one of the biggest benefits of using meetup.com is they will help find members for your group, for you, just by filling in all the details of your Meetup group.
They have a huge database of users.
Yeah.
And I use it, and one of the things I'll find, like if I'm bored, I don't have most social media on my phone or news or things on my phone. So occasionally if I'm bored, I'm like riding the tram, I'll scroll Meetups and just, oh, that looks cool. Or if I want to figure out plans for the week. And I'm not alone. I think most Meetup users do that. Like they go through and look for events proactively.
Side note, when I was in Africa, I was thinking, I'm like, it would be cool if I did a speaking event while I was here. So I looked at meetups in Kigali. I was in Rwanda. And because I'm a meetup organizer, I reached out to them and said, hey, I'm a meetup organizer in Vancouver. Love to speak at your event. They put together an event, over 200 people. And I got an audience in Africa who thought I was amazing. And I thought it was really cool.
So we've only got a couple minutes left on the SD card. We'll wrap it up here. You wanted to share about your global expansion if anyone is into internet marketing, digital marketing.
That's right. So if you guys are an internet marketing consultant, or maybe you've got a software that serves the internet marketing community, or even online business entrepreneurs in general, we're expanding Internet Masterminds globally. So if you want to have an Internet Masterminds chapter, go to internetmasterminds.org to find out more on how we can work together to help you start an Internet Masterminds meetup in your city.
And if you're not yet a subscriber to the channel, I publish new videos every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday at 6 a.m. Eastern. So hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. And if you haven't yet, check out the whole playlist here. I think I'll just link the videos we've done today.
Cool.
So it's easy for you to find the other videos where we talked about the benefits of a mastermind or mastermind of a meetup group, which is called Internet Masterminds, and the other really interesting, valuable, I would like to think, videos we've been filming today. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next video soon.
Take care.